On this episode of New Salts, we design, install, and test our DIY Lazyjack system. Our bolt rope system made sailing difficult, so we decided to convert our mainsail to a Mast slug system in order to make our sailing adventures more enjoyable and relaxing.
I'm Anna, and this is Ignacio. We, along with our daughter Elena and our pup Bay, are the new salt selling crew. We are DIYers with a growing appetite for big adventure. Our goal is to DIY and trade our way up to a blue water worthy boat and set sail on an adventure by sea. We are new to selling and plan to develop our selling skills along the way. Subscribe to stay up to date with our progress and adventures.
We are going to start the DIY Lazyjack. So, after doing some research online and looking up the prices of Lazyjack systems, I decided I'm just going to DIY one. So, I ordered all the components. Cost me about $30, and this is what I've come up with. So, from everything I've read, it's about 60% of the way up the mast is the ideal height to go to for your first anchor point on your Lazyjack system. So I'm going to go from there to a single pulley, and then I'm going to have a line that goes from a pulley, around that pulley, underneath the mast, back up another pulley on the other side in the same spot, down, and then to another pulley. So this is duplicated on two sides. Alright, so once we get there, then we'll have a single line that is anchored on the port side of the mast, or on the port side of the boom rather, goes up over a pulley, down, around underneath the boom, back up the pulley on the starboard side, and then down to a jam cleat. What this will allow me to do is to tension this entire system with just one line. Being that the mast is smooth, I'm going to have some little rings that keep these in position but don't necessarily need to touch this line. So what this allows us to do is when I tension this up, it'll not only support the boom, it'll also retain the sail. And then when I'm in sailing mode, I can pop the jam cleat loose and relieve the tension on this so that we don't affect our sail tension. The sheet will not be fighting any of this rigging here. Alright, so just to go over some numbers. Our mast is 24 feet tall. We made the anchor points at 14.5 feet. Our boom, I measured the boom, it is 124 inches long. So I know that I want my Lazyjack lines to lie at each quarter of the boom. So 124 inches divided by 4 is 31 inches would be the first line, 62 will be the second, and 93 will be the third. So we need to make a triangle that goes from 14.5 feet minus 20 inches, which gives us 154 inches, and then out 31 inches. So we need to find this side of the triangle. So we'll just solve for x. It's a simple a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So we found 154 inches squared times 31 inches squared, or plus 31 inches squared, equals these two numbers, so 23,716 plus 961. Take the square root of those added together, leaves us with 157 inches or 13.09 feet. Alright, so I've just described how the Lazyjack system is going to work. Let's go out to the boat. We'll start with these two anchor points first while the mast is laying down. Then we'll tie some line to each one of those, raise the mast, and see where we feel everything else needs to lie, and go from there. Alright, so as much as I'd love to work through the night on this, it's getting dark and I probably need to go inside. So I'm just going to tie these first Lazyjack lines on and plunge him to the mast, and then tomorrow morning I'll raise the mast and start getting all this put together.
got the mast up and the boom on. Now I'm going to go measure 31-inch segments, mark 3 places on the boom, and then we'll get started on installing these Lazyjacks. Alright, so we got these installed, but there's some resistance here in this middle, the middle piece, so I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do. So if you see, I let the boom down and it tries to roll to the port side, and then when I raise it, it does the same thing. It rolls from the port side to starboard because it's getting hung up on this eye, so these eyes aren't quite as flush as I think they should be. So I'm just trying to decide if an alternative would be to mount an eye on either side at the appropriate angle so that this doesn't bind up like it is. The other alternative is to extend these so that they are more centralized over this location, which I think is what I'm going to try first, being that I have excess rope, or line rather. So let me put a longer line here and see if that remedies the issue. If not, then I have some more of those guide eyes and we'll put them on. Alright, so I've linked in this first line, and it's doing the same thing, and it's also causing this rear line not to have as much of an effect as far as like containment of the sail. So I think I'm going to put the old line back on, and then I'm going to play with the some sort of retainment for the line to try to keep it a little bit straighter around this lower guide. I do need it this far back. If I go any further forward to satisfy the bind, then again I won't have as much of an effect. So for containment, so throw that other line back on, and then I'm going to play with the little guide eyes and see if I can make a difference with those. Alright, so after tinkering with it just a little bit, I think what I've decided to do, at least temporarily, is to install one eye on each side, pulling this Lazyjack line back in order to lessen the restriction down around the bottom guide. If this doesn't work as planned, I'm going to order 2 of these turning blocks like I have for the outhaul, like this guy here, and these will work perfect for that purpose. You know, the line will come out around through that guide eye and then back on the other side, and this will definitely lessen the restriction. So I'm going to try to avoid purchasing these or more of these, but if I need to, then I will do so. But in the meantime, I'm going to try 2 of these guide eyes and see if that'll remedy the problem. If not, then like I said, we'll move along and get some turning blocks. So anyway, we'll get all this back going and see if we can put it together. Well, it teaches me a lesson not to buy cheap hardware. You can see this dang screw sheared right off before it even got all the way down. Proper size hole, same size hole I use on all the other ones. There's just a void within the screw. So now I'm gonna try to get some vice grips and fish this thing out of here. So fun times. So before I ding this up anymore, I'm just going to back the boat up to where I got my airline run. I'm going to grind this bolt flush, center punch it, and try to just drill it out. I think if I keep going at it any longer, I'm going to mar the boom up more than I want to, and yeah, so
Alright, so we got it ground and center punched, if you can see. So I did scratch up the boom a little bit, but hey, it's an old boat and shit happens. So anyway, I'm gonna see if I can drill this out. It's pretty much on center, should be okay, and see if we can get a screw in there. Alright, so holes drilled. We're gonna install our guide and see what it turns out like. I pulled up on this line and the boom is no longer rocking around like it was before. But now when I pull on the other one to loosen it, it rocks the other way. So it appears that this eye has reduced the friction enough to keep the boom from rotating. Alright, so the Lazyjacks are installed. These turning guide eyes have made a difference. I'm going to see what it does with the sail on. The weight of the sail may be enough to keep this boom from rotating. And yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll just see how that goes, and yeah, we'll start putting the slugs. The slugs came in for the sail, so I'm going to go into the office and put the slugs and shackles on, and hopefully we'll get this done today. Alright, so got our mast slugs in and our shackles in for the mainsail. So we're going to lay the sail out in the yard here, install these, and then we'll set it up on the mast and see if the Lazyjack system works as designed. Okay, so to go over how these are to be installed, first step is to slide the slug into the shackle, like so, and then to run the shackle over, so just through the eye of the sail, set it across. I'm going to use a board since I'm using a metal hammer so that I don't damage these shackles at all, and then set the board just next to the hole so that the shackle can actually poke through with that board not intruding it, and then tap. And it snaps in like so. Just need to do that all the way down the sail. There's 15 of them on this sail, so we'll get going.
Because we do not have a mast gate yet, we are utilizing a bungee cord to keep our mainsail slugs from falling out of the mast track when we douse the main. In a future episode, I will design and 3D print a mast gate system. On our next episode, we will rig up the spinnaker, install the whisker pole hardware, position new winch cleats, and rebuild our old failing winches, all in preparation for our next sailing adventure. If you enjoy our videos, please like, subscribe, and share them with your friends.